It's noon on Tax Day, Monday, April 18th, and this is news that you can use from YAA with your hosts, Zach and Ray. And who are all those people? Are those people who can no longer afford to buy a car in America today?
They're they're on the sidelines.
They're on the sidelines, and they're all, I believe, they're all on their cell phones contemplating typing in tax as a promo code when they go to join YAA so that they can save 20%. I believe that
Runs out today.
it does at 11:59.
So let's kick today off with that.
Yes.
Happy Monday to you. This article came
Yes.
out from a local ABC affiliate. Tens of millions of buyers getting priced out of the new and used auto market. So this morning, I
Yes.
asked you, I said, hey, I want to talk about, are people really getting priced out of buying cars?
Yes.
And I think you did a little detective work. What's your overall impression? Are consumers, are American consumers, the average American, are they able to afford a car nowadays?
No. In one word, no. The simple answer is no. And some of the statistics that would back it up, I did, ladies and gentlemen. Here's my notepad.
Look at that. Look at that. It looks like the ghost. It's like,
yeah. Oh yeah, just that green background and yellow. They just don't work. But anyway, I did some research, and every September, the U.S. Census Bureau puts out their median household income report for the year.
Yep.
So we don't have the 2020 median or 2021 median household income. We won't have that until September. But in 2020, the median household income dropped 2.9% to $67,521. Now, we're talking about 2020, that we were in the throes of the COVID pandemic.
Yep.
So some of that would be understandable. We have seen wages increase, but we've also seen that inflation is accelerating at a pace that is greater than the wage increases. So even with wage increases, most Americans have less spending ability.
Yep.
Okay. The dollar just doesn't go as far. So I did a little bit of digging. Used car average payments in Q4 of last year, 2021. The average amount financed was $27,291. The average monthly payment on a pre-owned car was $488. It's
Okay.
approaching $500. I would not be surprised when we get the figures for the first quarter of this year that it will have cracked the $500 a month barrier. The average interest rate on a pre-owned car in Q4 of last year was 8.2%. We have already
8.2%. Wow.
Well, when you consider
No, I know.
that used cars going back 16 years, banks are still willing to finance 8, 10, 12-year-old cars. Well, there's a risk associated with
Definitely.
that, which means it's going to be at a higher interest rate. Now, the Fed has already increased interest rates once this year, and they plan on doing it another 6 times. So that 8.2% rate for a used car is only going to go up, which means payments are going to go up, which means less people will be able to afford a used car. The average term for a used car purchase is a little over 67 months.
Wow.
Okay. That's a little better than 6.5 years, ladies
Wow.
and gentlemen, for those of you trying to do the math in your heads.
Yeah.
Now, on the new car side, and this is the most updated information we have from Edmunds, this is including Q1 of this year, the amount financed on a new car loan is $39,340 on average. The average cash down payment is $6,026. Okay. The average term is 70 months, just 2 months short of 7 years, 6 full years. Yeah. And the other was 5.5 years.
Yep.
The interest rate was 4.4%, and the average payment was $648.
So you've got nearly 500 and 650 used and new. Okay.
Yes. Now, here's the part that should scare everybody.
We are flipping the page on the legal pad.
Yes. 44% of Americans report that they do not have enough money on hand to cover an emergency expense of $1,000. If on average, the cash down payment on a new car loan is $6,026, that means that over 44% of the people can't buy a car, would never be able to come up with that kind of money because they couldn't come up with $1,000 if they needed it in an emergency. Cars are for the wealthy. Those who don't fall into that category are going to be looking at older, higher mileage, edgier cars to be able to buy, or they're going to be looking at public transportation or bicycles, scooters, mopeds, things of that nature. But cars, yeah, all those people are on the sideline for a reason. Who can afford it? It's scary.
I just posted in the chat.
Yes.
Just put together a straw poll. Are you priced out? Answer that. Actually, if you can go to the URL, and if you're unfamiliar with what straw poll is, it looks something along the lines of this. You'll just come here, say yes or no, and vote.
Yeah.
Let's see at the end of the show what people say. Are you priced out of buying a car right now? Yes, no. I'm gonna say if I had to buy a car right now, I'd be priced out. I would probably just pay for Ubers.
Yeah.
Which is scary. I'm gonna vote. Anyway, please come here and there you go. We've already got 11 votes, 12 votes. We'll check this at the end of the show. It'll be super interesting to see. So up to 13 votes. This will be really cool to see if people are priced out or not. And so far, most people say no.
Yeah.
But they're not priced out.
Well, that's good to know that we have an affluent audience. So perhaps we should raise our rates. I'm just kidding.
You're right, though. When you start to run the numbers, it doesn't pencil for most people. It's pretty ridiculous because what you end up needing to do is just stretching the term of that loan so far. And at the end of the day, you're really never owning anything. You're just perpetually on credit or you're perpetually paying off debt. And that's not necessarily the best way to build wealth.
And it's not just the payment. Okay. We've talked about this often. There's more to just your monthly payment when it comes to the car. If the car payment portion is $650 and say your automobile insurance portion is $150,
yeah,
that's what, $800.
There's 5 main categories, Dad, of expense. Depreciation.
Yes.
Your financing.
Yeah. Well, depreciation is not as much of an issue today as it has been in the past.
I agree.
Yes.
But depreciation,
Yes.
your financing,
yes,
your fuel,
yes,
your insurance,
yes,
your maintenance and repairs.
Yes. Yeah. So
you start to add that all up.
It gets to be a lot. So if the average payment's $650 and insurance is $150, that's $800. And let's say, instead of a car depreciating 20% the first year, maybe it only depreciates 5%. But 5% of $50,000 is what, $2,500? I think. 10% would be $5,000. Yeah. So $2,500. So that's $200 a month. Now you're up to $1,000. Gasoline today, you're looking at if you're an average driver driving 15,000 miles a year, you're probably looking at $200 a month for gasoline.
The latest AAA data says that the cost to own a vehicle on average is like $7,500, and I think it's wrong because that's from 2020. There's no way it costs $7,500 to own a vehicle. It's
not anymore.
Let's jump to this question, Pops, from Peter. When are the banks going to start worrying about these loans they are making? And we had Jared and the Black Book team on last week or 2 weeks ago now.
Last Monday.
And Jared talked about how, he thinks the repo man.
Need to move that?
Yeah, just because it's doing a little bit of that action.
Okay.
There we go.
We'll get rid of that.
The repo man's going to be coming and knocking down doors eventually. When eventually is, we don't really know. But are the banks starting to get a little loose, a little worried? What do you think?
Well, they've increased the amounts percentage-wise that they're willing to loan against. In the olden days, 2019 and earlier, if you had really good credit, a bank would consider 130% of MSRP, including tax, title, and fees, and any stuff you wanted to buy. But If the MSRP was $50,000, and 130% would mean you could finance $65,000. Okay.
Yeah.
That the bank would finance.
Yeah.
The difference is that in that time, you were probably getting somewhere between 5 and 10% off on the vehicle. And today you're being asked to pay 5 to 10% above the MSRP on the vehicle. So banks have gone to as much as 150%. That's crazy. I mean, at a certain point, somebody's going to go, and I guess it'll be when we have the next great recession. Somebody's going to go, well, maybe we shouldn't have been advancing that amount of money.
I didn't look at it deeply, but Ally Financial put out their Q1 earnings. Did you look at that at all?
I did not.
Yeah, I did, but I saw that their net income was down 27%, something like that. So I need to do more digging there before I make any comments.
You would think they need to be setting aside more funds for defaulting loans.
Yeah, Igor saying repo business is booming right now. Good to know we've got some feet on the ground on that.
Yeah.
with that considered, Adam's got a question. Is it worth buying a brand new vehicle, even if you can get it at MSRP? Better to wait and see if I would be able to get a vehicle under MSRP again?
Well, my guess is that you'll be able to get a vehicle at MSRP again. It just might be 4 or 5 years from now.
Below MSRP again.
I mean, below MSRP. It might be 4 or 5 years from now, because the manufacturing shortage isn't going away anytime soon. Don't forget that we lost 10.5 to 11 million vehicles that were supposed to have been produced last year that were not. So far this year, there's been close to 1.5 million.
I got the numbers. We have the latest data. This came 4 hours ago from Auto Forecast Solutions. Drum roll, please. We're up to 1.5 million.
Okay, so 10.5 a month. That's 12 million. Okay, the projection is at the moment that it's going to be 2.25 million, which we know when everything's all said and done will probably fall somewhere between 5 and 8 million.
Yep.
So,
I was thinking 5 and 7. Yep, we're on the same page.
So if over a 2-year period of time we lose 18 to 19 million vehicles that should have been produced that were not produced, you can't make that up like in a month or two. That's going to take years to make that up.
Oh, absolutely.
So it could be quite some time before we see the availability of finding. Now, there are dealers and there are certain brands that you can still get below MSRP.
Volvo.
But obviously, the more popular brands are not selling below MSRP.
Yeah, and just to pull it up, we talked about this a bit last week. We had a video that went out about it. Here's the 4Eyes data. April over April. And you can see this data updates in real time.
Yes.
The Versa is now down 97.8%.
Yeah, because it had been at 98%.
Yeah. So you can see here, I mean, just inventory levels are down across the board. We had this news from Ford this morning, Dad. The 2022 Ford Mustang Mach-E is no longer available to order in the United States.
Well, they couldn't produce it anyway, so what difference did it make?
But this, married with some of the rumblings we've heard about the 2022 model year getting cut short,
yes,
it kind of builds the case going all the way back to this question from Andrew. Okay, if I can buy a car at MSRP now, should I do it or should I wait for? Yeah, the answer is yes.
Yes, well, depending on the brand.
Yeah,
if it's one of the brands where they have ample inventory and you can get and they're amenable to selling below MSRP, then of course you should go with one of those brands. But if it's one of the more popular, quicker selling brands, you're not going to be able to get it below MSRP. And MSRP, I hate to say it, is a relative bargain in today's world.
For most manufacturers,
yes.
It really is.
Yeah.
We've got here in the chat, Pops.
Yes.
Ford still offers a 1K incentive back on their trucks.
Yeah.
Which is just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
Because it's just like they're just factoring that into each MSRP price hike so they can give you the incentive. We're just seeing the price floor.
We're just going to charge you more so that we can afford to give you the 1,000.
Like, it's just a marketing expense, obviously.
Yes.
One Way Up says, I'm considering trading in my 2013 Corolla with 156,000 miles. I have 4,800 left to pay on it, and KBB is giving my trade-in value of about $7,000 for possibly a 2022 Corolla. Any tips? Man, if you were in this type of situation, Dad, would you be even thinking about a brand new Corolla, or would you just be driving this 2013 to its ultimate fate?
I can't believe that he actually might have equity in it. I can't believe that he still owes $4,800 on it, which would indicate to me that he didn't, he bought it not all that long ago, maybe 2-3 years ago. Um, uh, Used car values have never been higher. So if you can get a value for your older Corolla that is far in excess of what you still owe on it, then it mitigates the amount over you might have to pay for the Corolla. So it could equal things out. Now, if you feel more comfortable driving a brand new car that has full factory warranty and has, call it 10 miles, if that makes you feel, it would make me feel more comfortable. Now, I know Toyotas can run forever as long as they're well taken care of and well maintained. But a 156,000 mile car is a 156,000 mile car, and some parts of it have to be getting just a wee bit tired.
The best possible financial decision you can make right now, if you're able to do it, it's a lot of work, and we're here to try and help with it, is sell your used car for as much as possible and buy a new car at the cheapest price possible, which in most instances, like on that Corolla, if you could get that Corolla at MSRP.
Which by the way, is everybody's goal.
Yep.
I mean, think of it. When you go into a dealership, you want to buy the new car for as little as possible. If you have a trade-in when you go into the dealership, you have to realize that the dealership's goal is exactly the same as yours when they're buying. They want to buy your trade-in for as little as possible. The goals are exactly the same.
Absolutely.
The key is to work out a compromise that works for everybody.
We've got this comment from Gabriel Pops. I got to read it to you. All caps. I just went to my local Toyota dealer on the weekend. They only have 5 new 2022s. They're saying 90 to 100 days for a new Camry XSE 2022. Maybe.
Yeah.
And this is why we built back on the YAA website, the car dealer reviews. We need to do other community driven things. So if folks have ideas, I know we talked, it's under resources, dealer reviews. We're up to 1,138. I worked all weekend on version 3 of dealer reviews. It is coming along. It is absolutely coming along. I should have something to share probably by the end of this week, and then we'll launch it next week. Because we got stuff like this going on right now that I just got to fix. But the reason I bring that up, Dad, is because we need to find ways.
Maybe that's a popular group, NA.
We got to find ways as a community to be able to source dealers who aren't marking up, because it's going to become fewer and further between over the next year.
Yes.
And dealers that actually have inventory. Because listings is helpful and everything, but so much of it's not actually there. They're advertising cars that don't actually exist. Man, oh man, is it a crazy time. And also, Igor's right. Zach, it's just a rumor how some manufacturers will cut production to go straight to 2023 models. It's more expensive to do that than just building the 2022s. Again, we're hearing rumblings. We can call them rumblings. We can call them rumors. We can call them whatever we want. But there's definitely some...
We're not the ones starting it, by the
way. No, we heard it from our sources.
Yes.
Yeah, here you go. Michael saying exactly what I'm doing. Dealers let me drive my own car until a new one comes in. Now pray for no accidents. 100%.
Yes.
Man. Tom's saying if that Corolla was taken care of, another 150,000 miles on it, easy, Pops.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't disagree. Some people feel more comfortable having a factory warranty associated with their vehicle.
Let's switch gears to one of the stories that just came out on Automotive News.
And when we say just, it was
16 minutes ago.
Well,
and it's by way of Bloomberg.
No, well, it's more than 16 minutes ago.
Because
it came out at 11:36.
But it was updated 16 minutes ago.
You're right. Okay. So 45 minutes ago, this came out.
Tesla's conflicts with U.S. regulators coming to a head as safety crackdown looms. A clampdown on Autopilot could tarnish Tesla's reputation with consumers and spook investors whose belief in the company's self-driving bona fides have helped make Tesla CEO Elon Musk the world's wealthiest person. So essentially what's going on, Dad, is NHTSA is starting to flex their muscle a little bit, and it's sad to read stuff like this. Derek Monet and his wife Jenna were driving on an Indiana interstate in 2019 when their Tesla Model 3 sedan operating on Autopilot crashed into a parked fire truck. Derek, then 25, sustained spine, neck, shoulder, rib, and leg fractures. Jenna, unfortunately, she was 23 and she died. The incident was one of a dozen in the last 4 years in which Teslas using the driver assistance system collided with first responder vehicles, raising questions about the safety of technology the world's most valuable car company considers one of its crown jewels. The article goes on to talk about how NHTSA, you can see it here, has the authority to force recalls. They've opened 2 formal defect investigations that could ultimately lead Tesla, to have to retrofit cars and restrict use of autopilot in situations it still can't safely handle. I've got a lot of thoughts about this, but I'm curious to get your take, Pops.
You know how I feel about autopilot.
Yeah.
I hate it. It's wrong. We as human beings cannot abdicate our responsibility to maintain and control a motor vehicle. We cannot leave that to artificial intelligence to control a 5,000 plus pound vehicle and hope that it does it correctly. Just can't. I'm sorry.
It's a little crazy that we're having all these conversations about how expensive cars are becoming.
Yes.
And then we're also having conversations about how we probably shouldn't let cars drive us around everywhere because, it's pretty tricky. But the investment in getting cars to drive us around everywhere is partly what's driving cars to be more expensive. There's great research from Boston Consulting Group that shows the cost to produce a car with autonomous driving functionality is magnitudes more expensive than a simple vehicle. And heck, you can't even really find a simple vehicle out there anymore.
That sounds like a good name for a car company.
Simple vehicle.
Simple car.
Simple car. Yeah, definitely could be.
Simple autos.
Yeah. Trademark that.
We should.
But it's interesting to see that both of those play out at the same time. And then the thing is, we're testing these things with you, like they're being tested live right now. The Tesla full self-driving, you can Google search or YouTube search, Tesla FSD, and it's nuts what you end up seeing. So it's interesting that Washington probably will flex their muscle against Tesla. You would imagine.
I would hope. I just there's certain things that there's just certain things that we as humans should still be in control of. It's before the automobile. I think people rode horses and they had horse and buggies.
Yeah.
Well, somebody rode the horse, somebody controlled the horse, somebody gave commands to the horse. The horse didn't just do it on its own. I'm just not certain that we should ever put ourselves in a position where we allow computers and artificial intelligence to replace, I don't know, real intelligence. And yes, there's a question about how much intelligence do many people have. And there are many out there that apparently don't possess a lot. Okay. But the vast majority do.
Yeah.
And the last time I checked, you actually have to take a test and pass a test in order to get a driver's license to be able to control one of these vehicles. And yet, we can have computers doing it for us that can't recognize, I don't know, first responder vehicles that are parked on the side of a road.
Yeah, we played that video last week. It was pretty interesting seeing that Cruise vehicle. I had a conversation last week with the founder of a company in the automotive space, and it was really interesting. He used to work at Cruise, and we were talking about that video.
Yeah,
and he was telling me that internally there, at least this is off just like a conversation I had. He told me that at Cruise, like the whole concept was, how do you get cars to like essentially self-drive in controlled environments like parking lots?
Yeah.
And maybe the ultimate end state would be, how do you get trucks like semis to be self-driving? This notion that every vehicle should be self-driving in every instance, he's like, no one actually thinks that can happen. I'm like, wait, are you serious? Because he worked on a team, 300 plus engineers. Like, hearing that from him, and he was deadpan about it. I was like, yeah, of course not. Like, no one actually thinks this can happen. I was like, oh. Then why are we trying to force fit something? Why are we
doing it at all?
Yeah. Why are we trying to force fit it? It's really, really interesting. It's also really, really sad. 2 more stories I want to cover today, Dad, that I feel like are relevant. One, we've got RJ Scaringe, the CEO of Rivian.
Yes.
Parts crunch won't affect company's bright future. I need to be drinking whatever this guy's drinking. His positivity. You got to give him credit. His positivity.
Well, he's the CEO of a publicly traded company.
Yeah.
He can't go, oh, by the way, folks, we're in deep doo-doo.
How many vehicles did they deliver last quarter? What was it, like 1,500?
No, it was 2,100.
2,100?
Yeah.
I was looking at something. It was like Tesla delivered 300,000 EVs.
Yeah.
VW delivered like 100,000 EVs. Rivian delivered 2,100. And I think GM delivered like 400.
Whatever. They have a plant in Indiana that has the ability to produce upwards of 150,000 vehicles a year. They had originally expected to produce and utilize a third of that capacity and produce 50,000 vehicles this year. They now say that because of parts crunches between wiring harnesses and chips and other things, and because hell, they're a new company. They don't have the contacts that, say, I don't know, a century-old company like Ford or GM might have, and they can't get chips and stuff. So now they're thinking, well, hey, we got a bright future. We might hit 25. We might hit half of our goal for the year. Half. And that, friends, is a bright future.
We've got a video that'll be dropping on the YAA channel probably end of this week, beginning of next week. We did our first ever little documentary. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, you weren't even a part of this.
No. Well.
I worked on it with Justin and a few other people on the team, documenting the rise and the fall of Rivian. That company has been through some stuff.
Yes.
I don't think they're going to go away anytime soon, but holy hell. Remember when they were dealing with the news from Amazon, like that Amazon now has a deal with Stellantis for the Ram EVs, EV trucks instead of or EV vans rather than the Rivian van? Like there's so many bits and pieces to that company's story that don't hold water. But
heck, didn't Ford have a huge profit last year
because they sold their Rivian stake? Yep.
Yeah, and part of that huge profit was like $1 billion+ that they made by selling their position in Rivian.
One other story to turn to, Pops. This comes by way. Whoops! Please don't call us. Not right now. Hyundai owners file class action over excessive oil consumption. Nearly 20 models from both Hyundai and Kia are named in the suit, and here they are.
Yeah.
Things ranging from the 2012 to 2020 Elantra, 2009 2018 Genesis, 2019 2021. I mean, the list, even the brand new Palisade.
Yes.
Kia Forte, Kia Niro, Kia Rio, Kia Optima, Kia Sorento, Soul, Sportage, the Stinger, and the K5.
When are they coming out with the Kia oil?
So what happened here, Pops, and what's the class action?
It seems as if that these engines just go through oil.
More than what's specified in the manufacturer's handbook.
Yeah, the author of the article, his Hyundai Sonata, at one point they were checking the oil every 1,000 miles. That's what the dealership recommended, and it was requiring a quart every 1,000 miles. So it was burning through a quart of oil every 1,000 miles. It's now up to 2 quarts of oil every 1,000 miles. I used to, in many long before I even dreamed of getting married.
Yeah.
I once had an Audi 100 LS.
What the hell? I'm going to look it up now.
That was a sedan that they made. It was, and the one I had was actually in a manual transmission. And I don't want you to think that car burned oil, but
is this it?
Yeah, but it sort of kind of burned oil, and I never had to do an oil change because every week I was dumping a fresh quart of oil in it. So it was the engine was always all the internal parts were well lubricated because it was fresh oil that it was burning through every week. Yeah, that's an issue. If for whatever reason the Hyundai engines and the Kia engines are burning through oil like that, vehicles should be able to go several 100,000 miles without having major oil consumption problems. And obviously Hyundai, if there's a class action suit against them, there's a reason that there's that suit.
So here you go. The lawsuit also claims that Hyundai should have issued a recall over the consumption issues, something I'm just now realizing was never done, whatever the result is. I hope Hyundai does the right thing. The case is being represented by Santa Barbara-based law firms, last names with an LLP at the end and last names with an LLC at the end, and Walsh, PLLC. So take a peek there if you've got a Hyundai that's on the list. Let's go to the survey results, Pops. 27 votes on the are you priced out of buying a car right now? 2/3 of our respondents said no.
Well, good.
1/3 said yes.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
We have an affluent audience is what that indicates to me.
Yeah. Or maybe a more savvy audience that's able to negotiate down all of those additional dealer markups. Yeah, no, it's
okay.
We got affluent.
Yeah, I think they're affluent.
So tomorrow,
and bless you all for being that way.
So tomorrow we'll be back and we'll have the used car market update. Thanks to our
Yes.
friends over at Black Book. Whatever other breaking news comes out, we have launching this week at the State's Attorney's General page as well. So once we have that up, we'll have to talk about that on the show as well.
What is the State's Attorney General?
You compiled all the resources for all 50 states
Yes.
plus Puerto Rico, maybe.
And Washington D.C.
And Washington D.C.
Yeah.
All of the information on how to file a complaint
Yes.
with the state's attorney general in case you're taking advantage of that car dealership or in general.
Yes.
And we're going to have that page up. And we'll be promoting that soon.
Okay, cool.
All right, Pops. Happy Monday.
Well, hey, everybody, if you owe taxes, get those taxes paid. If you don't feel like paying them right away, file an extension. Otherwise, get your taxes done today, ladies and gentlemen.
Friendly reminder from Papa Chefska. Oh,
yes.
I wish you had your headphones on. Show me the money.
And save 20% if you type in tax in the promo. That's the promo code that expires today at 11:59 p.m. If you want to join YAA and save 20%.
Thanks, Pops.
Thank you. We'll see you all back here tomorrow, noon.
Are we in the band section?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah.